And good morning, White County. Don Strength from White County Public Safety back in here with you early on this Friday morning at 6:39 a.m., September 27th, 2024, as we are continuing to track what is left of Hurricane Helene, who made landfall last night as a Category 4 storm just south of Perry, Florida. Tremendous amount of damage down there in the Florida Panhandle, and that damage stretches up into South Georgia near Valdosta. And then the hurricane took more of an eastern turn than forecast, and has just now really begun to start that north-northwest turn, which will bring it up the eastern side of the state of Georgia. And we are told by the National Hurricane Center eventually it will turn back very close to White County. Still uncertain as to whether or not that will be directly over White County or maybe a tad bit to the east of White County. But we're tracking that possibility. But just as we expected all along, the wind has really intensified over the last hour or so across White County. We have already received a peak wind gust of 42 miles per hour. That was within the last 30 minutes. And we are receiving frequent wind gusts at 30 to 35 miles per hour. So we're hitting that tropical storm warning threshold of 39 miles per hour out there across White County this morning as we take a look at a live camera shot across Freedom Park in downtown Cleveland. And the wind is gusty, meaning it's not sustained. You'll have the heavy winds come through and then will drop down to about 7 miles per hour. And then 3 or 4 minutes later, you'll have another gust of wind. And that's going to be the MO as we go throughout the morning across White County. We believe as the hurricane turns, or what's left of the hurricane, I should say, turns north and back to the northwest, that there is a decent chance that we could get into some heavier winds maybe in a couple of hours. Maybe we're looking at 9 a.m. ish this morning. We could be in the height of this thing, but it's going to last a little bit longer than we originally thought because the entire system, though it was moving at about 30 miles per hour at one point earlier this morning, has really slowed down now. So the forward motion not nearly as fast as it was earlier. So this is going to be a longer duration event than we originally thought, and the storm has moved a little further east than we originally thought. And so we're tracking this thing literally minute by minute to see exactly what all of that means for us. We have already had multiple trees go down across the county, and we do have some road conditions out there we'll tell you about this morning. Of course, Richard Russell was closed. Richard Russell Scenic Highway was closed yesterday afternoon at 4 p.m., and it will remain closed throughout the duration of this storm. Highway 356 at Clayton Road, which is just past Fred's Peanuts out there, does have a tree blocking both lanes. And Georgia Department of Transportation tells us that they are not going to respond to that tree until they feel that it is safe to do so. So we're unclear on how long it will be before 356 will be open. So if you have to travel up to Unicoi State Park from Helene, you're going to have to go out 17 and cut up Sky Lake Road and come back in 356 the other way because you can't get there from Helene this morning. Also, in the city of Cleveland, the flood-prone area right there in front of Burger King, or right there in front of the former Glenda's restaurant, is continuously rising and lowering. Quillian Street, which is parallel to Main Street behind Burger King, I think we've got it closed permanently right now. But Main Street is passable. It's just that water will rise and then it will fall based on the amount of rainfall that we get. So when we get a heavy band move through, then that water will rise and it'll go back down. But Cleveland Police Department is working that. We also have a tree blocking both lanes out on Duncan Bridge Trail, and that also is going to be dealt with by GDOT and it may be some time before that's cleaned up. We have power lines involved in that one. And then Post Road at Steve Lewis Road, we have a power pole that's broken, only one lane passable there. Highway 115 East and the 5400 block, we have a tree across both lanes. And so that one is in the process of being worked as well. And then Appalachian Trail Drive, which cuts off of Helene Highway in the vicinity of Ingalls. We have a tree on a power line there. We had some power lines arcing at that location at one time. Georgia Power has been notified on that particular location. We also have approximately 3,500 customers across White County without power at this hour. We have been on emergency power here at the Emergency Operations Center a couple of times so far this morning, and that may happen again. So we're asking everyone to shelter in place, do not venture out on the roadways. Also, Georgia Power's got 76 customers that are without power in White County at this hour as well. We're asking everybody to shelter in place, do not get out on the roadways. I know it's tempting sometime to get out there and you look outside, it doesn't look that bad. Hey, I'm going to go jump in the truck and ride around and see what everything looks like. Well, number one, there's nothing to look at. Number two, if you get on the roadways, all you're going to do is hamper the recovery efforts. So we ask that you stay at home and give our rescue personnel and the utilities the opportunity to get out there and restore power and clean those roads up as quickly as possible. We are in that window of opportunity now where we could start seeing multiple trees down and widespread power outage across the entire county. I mean, we've already got right at 30% of our customers without power in White County as it is. So it's not going to take a whole lot more to start having countywide issues as we go throughout this event. And again, we're watching. If we'll go, Bryce, if you'll take the radar, there's a couple of things I want to point out. And you'll notice, I know it's kind of hard to see, but there in the top of the screen, I've kind of got White County outlined in red. And then there is an arrow pointing toward White County. If you'll look up there around Toccoa, you'll see a feeder band that's going to rotate back over White County. So that's probably going to give us some 30 to 40, maybe even 50 mile per hour wind gust when that rotates through White County here within the next 10 minutes or so. But if you'll take your attention back over to the right on the screen, and don't judge my abilities to draw on this screen because I'm having to do this with a touchpad and it's not easy. This is the absolute heaviest wind that is left with the hurricane. And it is over in western South Carolina, from Anderson down to Greenwood and almost all the way back to Columbia. So what's left of the center of circulation of Helene is inside that circle that I just drew down there, right over Washington, Georgia. The direction of the storm at the moment is pretty much north, and we believe that it's going to make a curve and then come right back over White County within the next 2 to 3 hours. If that happens, there is a legitimate chance that all of that yellow and red that you see inside of the upper right-hand quadrant of the storm could possibly rotate over White County. That is worst case scenario. We don't want that to happen because within this red circle that I've got on the screen is where we could very easily see 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gust, especially at the higher elevations across the mountains of the northern part of White County. Our hope is that the storm continues a little bit further north before it takes on that northwest turn. And all of this maybe will miss White County. And I know this is not going to sound good, and I hate it for our friends to the north. But if I have to make a call here, I'm not going to take one for the team. We're going to send this up across our friends to the north, up in Newton. I'm sorry, up in Towns County and in Union County. And that is very possible. It just depends exactly where that bend back to the northwest takes place in the next couple of hours. Nonetheless, regardless of whether we get the strongest winds, we're already in strong enough winds to continue to cause trees to fall and power to fail across White County this morning. So from now until the winds subside, which will probably be sometime early to mid afternoon, just stay put, stay indoors, stay at your home. Don't get out there on the roadways unless it's an absolute emergency. Also, let me remind you the best way to use 911 is to call us if you have an emergency. Don't call 911 if you simply want to know about road conditions or weather conditions or whether or not something is opened or closed. Let's leave the 911 operators available for emergency calls as you take a live look inside of our 911 center. Those guys and gals in there working hard this morning. We are taking a larger than normal volume of calls with folks reporting trees and situations with the roadways. So let's try to keep from calling 911 unless it is an emergency. And if it is, of course, that's the best thing to do. Just dial 911. If it's not an emergency, we do have a non-emergency number, and we ask that you use that for non-emergency calls. Our Emergency Operations Center is also up and operational. We're at full activation this morning. We have folks in the EOC working the roads with White County Public Works and with the Public Works departments, both in Cleveland and in Helene. Our sheriff's department, our fire departments are all out working this morning as well. So let's stay off the roadways and give our responders the opportunity to get our community back to normal as soon as we possibly can. We will continue to update you here on White County Public Safety as we go throughout the morning. Again, we're watching very, very closely to see exactly which the track that the storm will take, because that's going to really determine just how bad this thing gets for us before all is said and done. Right now, it's just kind of a wait and see game as far as the absolute heaviest winds are concerned. There's a decent chance that could come right over White County. There's also just as good a chance that it may skirt a little bit to the north of us as it gets in the process of making that turn back off to the northwest. So thank you for joining us, and we'll be back and we'll update you a little bit later on this morning from White County Public Safety. Make sure that you tell all your friends about our public safety channel here on Facebook. You want to like us, share us with your friends, ask your friends to share with their friends. You can play a vital role in being a hero during severe weather by sharing information. After all, surviving severe weather depends on your situational awareness. Thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Don Strength in the White County Public Safety Office. We'll be back a little later on with more information.